Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Squirrel. This is Candace.
And I'm Jody.
I almost forgot who I was for a second there.
It's not that late.
Welcome to episode 3 of our second season, and we're going to talk about previous lives of writers. Ta-da! I think that, it's like the same thing with actors. When you find out an actor was like originally a carpenter, or they originally worked at
Or a neurosurgeon. No, a neuroscientist.
So neuroscientist,
I was
right?
so blown
these
away
people
by
that have other lives. Did you know that the guy that was Willy Wonka, he's a vet? Like he's like a horse doctor.
Which guy?
Charlie from Willy Wonka.
Oh, the original Willy.
The original Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory.
Who would have thought?
So yeah, he decided he's
cute.
like, I'm not gonna do acting. I'm gonna go do something else, which is awesome. I love that. But anyway, writers do the same thing. We are always never born this writer. We have to become this writer. And the jobs that we've had previously, I think, are amusing. But I think also that life experience has really added depth to our writing. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. I think the more weird stuff you've done, the more flavor you can bring to the page.
Yeah, I agree.
I've done a lot of weird stuff.
I can't wait to hear. Actually, I asked you those questions. Writers have held a lot of strange jobs, but they are just like normal people. I think it makes them a little bit more human, and it's benefited them in ways. And life experiences can help develop us as people. And it's important to experience different avenues of life in order to grow as people and help inspire our writing. So I'm asking you, Jody, first.
Okay.
What weird jobs have you had?
Okay, so I've had some of the boring ones because I was a grocery store cashier for a while. I was a short order pizza cook. I was a pet specialist at PetSmart. And those were kind of boring, although the pet specialist one was fun.
What do you do as a pet specialist?
So the person who works in the fish area and all the live animal area, they're pet specialists. And so we talk to people about having a pet and how to take care of them. And then we have to get them out of the enclosures and put them in the box.
Oh.
And so they can get checked out.
Oh, that is...
That
is kind of special.
So I got to handle all the animals. The
cute.
birds were really annoying.
They are.
And
I had a bird when I was 14.
Oh, yeah. Gerbils and hamsters are evil. But
Good to know.
I was an animal educator at a life science museum. I got to perform live reptile shows.
That is
and
so
educate
cool.
Boy Scouts about
What?
live reptiles. We had a savanna monitor. We had a python that was like 12 feet long. His name was Monty. Of course it was. We had this giant iguana. We had a couple turtles. We had a bunch of little snakes. But yeah, that was one of my funnest jobs. I was professional animal educator.
That is so cool.
So, and I would take them in cars and go to elementary schools and give reptile shows.
That's almost my dream job, except that I don't like reptiles.
That would definitely be a hard part.
My dream job is to just have a support dog that I would take to the hospital and let people pet. That's my dream job, everyone.
Different.
I have goals. So.
We did have a tarantula too, but he was delicate, so we couldn't take him places. I was a CNA. I got certified as a CNA, so I did a CNA job for a year in a nursing home. That is hard work. Got to do all sorts of interesting stuff with it. Got to learn a lot about myself. Mainly, I don't like working in human medicine. Thus, all the animal medicine that's going to follow this job. Because right after that, I did my vet tech program, and I ended up doing really weird jobs while I was doing that. So I worked in a necrology lab. So I was at the Weber extension, where people would bring in dead livestock, and we would tell them how they died. And so we were forensic animal scientists.
Ew, that smells terrible.
There's a reason we had mentholatum.
That smells terrible.
On hand and face masks. Somebody brought in their horse in a series of 5-gallon buckets because they didn't find them for a couple days in the middle of the summer. And we had to figure out, because it was a breed of horse that was really quite expensive, and he needed to protect the rest of his herd. So he needed to find out what happened to it. So that one was interesting. I can't imagine what that was like going down the freeway with that on an open utility hauler. That was a fun one.
I'm getting your entire resume here.
I was a veterinary nurse, so I worked in a dog and cat clinic, but I got to do everything from IVs to dentals to radiology to anesthesiology. They didn't let us do small surgeries, although we were technically trained. Like, I could have done like neuterings are really easy.
Just snip, right?
Pretty much.
One little snip.
Two. Two tiny snips. And yeah, no, it's really crazy. So, and then after that, I went into the research field because as much as I liked the dog and cat practice, I did not like their owners.
Oh, fair.
That got stressful after a while. And so going into research meant I got to do my skills, but in an environment where I didn't have to deal with customers, which was terrific. So I can start an IV on anything that has fur. I'm not certified for humans. CNA doesn't do phlebotomy.
What? They don't? I thought that
RNs can do blood draws.
Well,
LPNs
MA has
and
to
MAs can,
learn.
but CNAs don't. There's a weird line between. We can do blood sugar testing, like finger sticks.
Okay.
But we can't do
But
blood
you're
draws.
not phlebotomist.
No. That's where the weird line gets drawn.
That
But
is
I
weird.
learned how to do it on dogs and cats.
Because
and
phlebotomy
horses and
just
llamas.
should be something that you need as when you're in the medical field. That's something that a general skill that I think that you need.
Yeah.
Even in medical science, we learn how to draw blood.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
That's
I've never
interesting.
drawn blood on a human, but I've drawn blood on countless dogs, cats, kittens, tortoises, llamas, horses, sheep, pigs. Yeah. If it can move and it's a mammal, I have drawn blood on it.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
That is so cool.
it's hard on kittens.
Well,
by the way.
I guess I'll start my resume then because I only focused on a few things. Because I did once work in a bakery.
Aw.
My sandwich skills are amazing. I made
Your
sandwiches.
sandwiches, my pizzas. Let's go.
No, seriously, I was in like Miami. We were making sandwiches for the Everglades, and I put my sandwich skills to use there and made the most beautiful sandwiches. I did work at the post office for a brief time. I was called a Christmas casual, and I worked at the airmail field. So that's when you get all the packages right off of the airplanes. And that was my job, is sorting them. And it's not an easy job because I didn't realize that cardboard dust really gets into your nails, your fingernails and your finger beds, and it hurts so much. So you always see them like with gloves on and everything because it's just those little things. The metal slides and my hair did not get.
I remember you talking about being electrocuted a few times.
Yes, exactly. The electric shock was really impressive. And I even put up my hair. Like, I didn't have it down. It was long, but I have such like baby fine hair that I mean, I can't jump on trampolines. I mean, it gets everywhere. So it was, wow, those shocks. I'm still having trauma just talking about it. But my most interesting was, I think, when I worked as a messenger in a hospital, which is basically we'll do everything that nobody else wants to do. And through that, I got to hold people's brains in. I got to go on morgue runs. So I bagged bodies and I had to take jewelry off of people.
You're a body snatcher.
Well, it wasn't really snatching. It was more, I don't know, gift wrapping. But taking jewelry off of people is hard. Did you know that? Because rigor mortis starts fast. And I remember it was me and 3 nurses trying to get those rings off of this lady. Oh my gosh. Because the family needs it. You know, I've been, as part of my hospital work, I have been part of autopsies. I know how to take out a brain.
You
Fun
on
fact.
humans, me on animals. I know. We're just circling right back there.
Right. So weird.
Do they
the
use a
weird
chisel?
things. No.
Oh, you probably have a nifty saw thing.
There's a bone saw.
Yeah, we didn't get to use bone saws.
No, it's interesting.
We were underfunded.
I'm going to go into a little graphic detail. Please, no one faint. But you need to scout, like, you still have to do, on an autopsy, you still have to keep the body presentable for a funeral. So in order to get the brain out, you have to scalp them and create like a little, I'm showing Jody this on my head. It's too bad we don't have this recorded.
Do you remember on The Grudge when the fist came out the back of the head? It's roughly in that area.
Yeah, no, you cut here. You have to like sever the brainstem and cut a little hole so you can scoop it out. It's weird.
I think we've squirreled long enough.
That's it. And then yes, my medical science, just dealing with blood. I'm looking at under microscopes. I think that's pretty good. Oh, and I can pierce ears because everybody had to have that job once in college.
Not everybody.
I
pierced everything else.
I mean, job in general, where you're just like, I need a job, and I don't know anything about piercing ears. But just teach me, and I will pierce people's ears because I need
you
a
were
job.
a gun piercer.
I was a gun piercer, but that isn't the only thing we did, because I did do this little part, the part of the ear.
The tragus?
Sure, right there.
Yeah, that's the tragus.
And then we also did up at the top of the earlobe.
Helix.
Sure.
Why do I know these?
I don't know, because you know body.
Okay.
So I just knew what we had to miss nerves. So
Famously.
I was taught where I needed to go and what I
I'm
needed
so
to
glad
do.
they actually knew about the nerves.
We
I've always been worried about
we had
people
needles.
at the mall.
It was not just it wasn't just a gun shop. It wasn't just like Claire's. It was a place called the Silver Shop, and it wasn't a mall. But I did have to learn how to use a needle in piercing. So,
okay, Candace the body piercer. Never thought that would come up.
I know, right? Okay, where have you used this in your writing?
So I've used mine because my main character was a healer's apprentice and I was in the medical field. And so I did use, there was a lot of first aid kind of moments. So we did a lot of that in the book. And that was drawn straight from my experience of, how to work with bodies, whether mammal or mammal. Humans are mammals. And so, being able to bring some of those scenes more to life using personal experience of just how bodies work was just nice to have that to draw from.
Cool. There's a character in my Vampirish book. Now, Vampirish is a love letter to the blood bank. So it has a lot of science in it. I had to create my own science in order to write that book, which honestly doesn't quite make sense if you know medical science, but it doesn't matter. It's fiction, everyone. I had to create a science that would work for my universe in order for me to write it well. And in the book, there's a medical process called pheresis, which is where you extract. It's like
plasmapheresis.
Yeah, it's extracting blood and replacing it with other things. So my character really thinks that he can get cured. This vampire, that he thinks he can get cured by a pheresis. But in it, I created a pathologist who loves platelets, and he sleeps on a gurney in the autopsy room.
Why not?
Because those are things that I knew.
It's nice and quiet in there.
If I'm going to create a vampire pathologist, that sounds like a book right there. I definitely want
Jot it down.
Yeah, I want to bring out a lot of that authenticity of being in a laboratory and having the that experience. The chapter, if I remember, is called "The Guy Under the Sheet." If I remember right.
Very nice.
That's one of the examples I can bring up about using my science for sure. Is there any? What else have you done? There's got to be more.
Well, I mean, I've traveled a lot, and so just having traveling type things.
Yeah,
going to new places,
Mm-hmm.
Experiencing a place for the first time, different biomes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, That's true. Because I've added those into my books as well. I don't like to write about stories that I haven't been to, because I tried to do that once with New York before I went to New York, and then I had to come back and rewrite it after I'd been to New York.
Surprise.
So there's so many more human qualities that I wanted to bring into that world to really make New York pop. You know?
Yeah, and I was grateful that I'd been able. I mean, Paris is not exactly Europe. Like medieval Europe is like such a catch-all for like most fantasy, but being able to visit castles and these really old buildings in Paris gave just more insight on how those function in like a medieval world, which was really cool.
Yep, very good. All right, should we get into some of these writers?
You found fun ones.
I did.
I found a couple, but I think you got the good ones.
Yeah, there was more. I only put like a handful there, but there are more. And anybody, this is all attributed to Google, so anyone can Google these if you want. If I'm putting my citing here, it's all Googling. I found that my favorite one was Jack London. He is what's called he was a oyster pirate. Do you know what that is?
This is the first time I've heard of it, and
Really?
now I'm delighted.
Right? No, it's like a fishmonger who he steals fish to sell. he stole people's oysters to sell them as his own.
Funny.
Isn't that awesome? And he did put those in his novels. I don't know which one because I'm not really.
I don't read enough.
I've not read enough Jack London to be an expert on that, but I found that awesome. What did you find?
Harper Lee used to be an airline ticket agent. Like, she needed something to pay the bills. She knew she was going to be a writer, but she had to pay the bills because writing sometimes takes a while. And so that's how she paid her way while she was writing her book. So that's how she paid for To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember right, I mean, she didn't really write. That was it, right?
She came out with another one, but it was literally 30 years later.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's crazy. Nicholas Sparks, Hallmark's like darling. Hallmark movies, darling.
All the covers that have the people nearly kissing. That's him.
Oh my gosh, Nicholas Sparks.
Their foreheads are touching.
This one cracked me up because I can totally see this. He was a telemarketer, and he would call people and try to sell them dental equipment.
That is
products.
so random.
I know. Out of anything. Did you ever do a telemarketing job?
I had to work phones a couple times for like charity weird stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for one day, and it was for we have a theater here called Pioneer Theater Company, and I did it for one day, and then I never came back.
Stick with it. I did it for a KUTV,
I never got that check either. I should probably look for that.
A fundraiser marathon. I got to sit at one of the tables while the hosts were walking around with like the mug you could get if you became a platinum sponsor or whatever.
You were one of those people in the back?
Yeah. And the phones weren't working.
So you just had to
so
pretend?
we were like pretending.
Hi, yes,
and
hi.
like we were supposed to have little computer thingies and those weren't working, so we had paper forms. It was such a mess.
That is really funny.
I was briefly on TV as a KUTV person.
That's fun. I also found Agatha Christie. She worked as an apothecary assistant.
How perfect is that?
I know, right?
So perfect.
You need to know about poisons. I could not, when I saw that, I was like, yep, totally.
Clearly.
Absolutely. I don't want her to have any other kind of job. Just that is perfect, you know?
So Kurt Vonnegut did a bunch of different jobs. He was a journalist for Sports Illustrated, but he was also like a PR executive. And he was also like he worked as a car dealership owner. Like he owned a Saab.
He owned a dealership?
I don't know if he worked there or he owned it, but he did. Like he worked at a car dealership selling cars.
At a Saab dealership.
A Saab dealership.
Those are the
he was
cars.
an English teacher. He does a bunch of different stuff, but they say that a lot of his dark satirical works are a direct reflection of him feeling oppressed by the system.
Wow.
So
well, cool.
I was like, I can see that.
Well, I know,
and like the monotony of it.
Yeah, Stephen King. This isn't my notes, but Stephen King, he was like an English teacher, I know because he mentions it in writing,
Mm-hmm.
in his in writing book. And I know he's a janitor. I think everyone was a janitor. Weren't you a janitor? I did stuff like that with my dad on the weekends. I remember being a janitor.
I cleaned a lot of stuff, but it was always part of a different job.
Yeah, that was probably a different job. Okay, Octavia Butler inspected potato chips.
I want that job. That would be dangerous, but I want that job.
My mother did this job. She worked for Clover Club when she was
Okay.
younger.
She was a line.
Yeah,
On the line.
she was. Yeah,
Cool.
she inspected
You
potato
skipped
chips.
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, he was a surgeon.
Which totally
Because
makes
of
sense.
course he was, right? I think that it totally makes sense because there was a big boom of science at the end of the 1800s, and he was just part of that. And I know when reading specific Sherlock stories, he adds science to it, like it makes sense. You know, he talks about the hemoglobin when it came to, I don't remember which one. Maybe it was a study in Scarlet where he talked about the hemoglobin in the red cells that did something. And this was, gotta say that 1900 was when they actually discovered blood types. So they were working on this kind of science, trying to figure out blood. And he just added it to his fiction. So brilliant. I love that.
Absolutely. So Douglas Adams, our beloved Douglas Adams,
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
He's
a bodyguard.
He's like our grandpa.
He was a bodyguard.
Like
Like an actual...
Like Whitney Houston bodyguard?
Yes. I don't know what kind of bodyguard he was. I mean, he was
That's
writing
cool.
on the side, but he was, doing a bodyguard for cash.
Yeah.
And he wrote a sketch for Monty Python on the Holy Grail.
Oh.
And that's what got him his initial big break into the world of being a comedy writer.
Really?
Was that. And he was working as a bodyguard at the time.
That's so cool. That's cool. Lewis Carroll sent in a lot of riddles, and he used his math skills in them to get people to start thinking and trying to figure them out, these puzzles. He used a lot of math in a lot of his works. Yeah. The riddles and
Definitely
the rhymes
that shows
and-
up.
Oh yeah, all the time. So that's him. And then I had one more. John Green.
Oh, yeah.
Our beloved John Green.
So cute.
He studied as a minister, which blows me away. Do you follow him or his brother?
No, it tracks. I could totally see him as a youth minister.
Yeah, he was a youth minister at a children's hospital before he made it big. And of course,
Which makes a lot of sense if you
when
look
he
at
did
his
The
writing.
Fault in Our Stars,
Yes.
right? Where he talked about pediatric cancer, that just makes sense.
He had a lot of exposure.
And yeah, I adore that about him, actually. So good job.
Yay.
All right.
Final thoughts.
I think that life experiences are so important. And I know a lot of people, maybe a lot of listeners, want to just get published and just be a writer already. But a lot of these little things show up in our writing all the time. And it's good for us to have a exposure to the way other people live or the way things operate. Like even being in a hospital and understanding a little bit more about how a person lives and dies. It's valuable information that I could never get anywhere else. I know that there is a lot of research that people do. A lot of writers they're like, well, I need to find out about this. So I'm going to go and watch somebody do this, and they'll ask a lot of questions. And that's all really important as well. But I think there's nothing better than actually experiencing things and putting what you do experience into your novels.
And being able to capture things the way they actually are,
Mm-hmm.
instead of how people assume they are. I think
Yeah.
those surprising details are what really make things pop.
True.
I would encourage everyone to go do cool things and visit strange places, because you never know what's going to help flavor something you end up having to write about down the road. You have to do dragons. I make you bet you visited a zoo. I make you bet you've gone into the reptile house and it's like, why does it smell like that? That's reptiles.
Yes.
I make you bet, like, if you're going to do like old buildings, I bet you've been in an old library and it smells like linoleum and vanilla and and 1,000 sweaty feet. All of these places have these unique little tidbits, and you've probably experienced a lot of them. And now it's your time to be able to use a lot of that. And if you haven't done it, go do it, because there's probably stuff within miles of where you live that could give you a cool experience you've never had before that probably doesn't cost much. And
one day you're going to be Googled. And what did you do in your previous life? And we want to see it, you know? So for the listener challenger, the listener challenge, everyone, I want you to look at your own career path and find interesting details that you could pull out of your own history and what you think you could write about or add to your story. And I want to hear about them. So there you go.
All righty. Next week, it's my episode.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about the lighthearted side characters. If you have a serious main character, you probably are going to have a lighthearted side character. This is yin and yang characters.
Is this like Batman and Robin?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. All right. I got this.
Do you think you can do the outro?
If you've liked anything that you've heard today, please like and subscribe. We have a Patreon that we would love you to be a part of. We also have Buy Us a Coffee, which, you know, we don't drink like caffeine very much. So we'll take any money that you send that
for yourself. 5-hour energy.
I'll get a drink for sure.
Ours is technically Buy Us a Book.
Buy Us a Book?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's
guys.
The site's Buy Us a Coffee, but our little thing is Buy Us a Book. It's
Buy
really cute.
us a book, guys.
Told you I was good at this.
You were so right. No, buy us a book. I lost my mind at a bookstore the other day. Like, I have 12 books or something.
It wasn't with a scalpel and a bone saw, was it?
Well,
you lost your mind?
I did lose my mind. I was there until closing. They had
Hang
to
on. Let me just claim that squirrel back and put it in his cage. Sorry.
And
this episode's already pushing it.
Yes. And I hope to see you guys on all of our forums and liking things and sharing it. And we hope to hear from you soon. How's that?
Alrighty.
Okay. Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone. Please don't keep this in here.
I'm just waiting for you to flail until you find it.
Is it called?
Google it.
I can't. It's a really easy word.
Dang it. That's going to leave me out.
It's a super easy word.
I feel like we're back where we were.
Why is a raven like a writing desk? What is that?
A riddle.
Riddle! Thank you! It's a riddle. He would do riddle.